texts continue to pour into the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line describing a hellscape out there on the roads. It's difficult for me to believe that it hasn't been worse from time to time. But again, I think for a short, intensive stretch, it seems as if this is one of the worst we've had in a while. A lot of ice, a lot of snow, a lot of wind, and virtual gridlock in every direction based on what we're getting in from the text line. So Guardsy has left. Promotions guy kind enough to help out. Do you get OT for this? Is there any reason to believe that there might be something extra coming in your check?
I mean, we're going to find out, aren't we?
Well, yes. I'm not sure you could count on it, but I do appreciate you hanging with me. We're waiting. Brett Blakemore's gotten caught up in this late breaking. This might be one of the latest breaking snownamis that we have had in a long time ago. And as I mentioned, I think it's a perfect storm, no pun intended, of timing and kind of coming together quickly. People not ready for it. Maybe the plow operators not ready for it, et cetera, et cetera. Dan, road update. I was getting on 35E from Highway 62, and on a little incline, my truck went sideways. Google Maps is saying it's going to take me 40 minutes to get from St. Paul to White Bear. Dan, can you hit the Olympic music again? Just got done shoveling the driveway. I feel like I am indeed an Olympian. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Kessler is still, being the gamer he is, allegedly on his way. And if you have questions for him, because I have a bunch, some from his list, some that I am going to add to his list. Bradshaw and Bryant, KFAN text line, 64686. We expect Kessler at hopefully around 5:30 or so. Just left Circle Pines at 2, heading to Iowa, and I have just reached Owatonna. That is from, looks like 563 guy. Blakemore stuck traffic. Polad's almost signed Velazquez, Wolves in 5. Not much of a rhyme, but it's still fun. Any chance you can get Hartman over to Utica Avenue fast enough to save Guardsy, and then we could have a Chad Barreiro reunion 25 years later? That would actually be rather interesting. Going to be still on Cedar towards Egan when USA versus Slovakia starts. Apple Valley has an easy 10 inches of snow already. When you guys wing it like this, it's the best. It's fun in its own way, and it's been a while. But we will, no question, Ryan Donaldson will be called into duty overnight, and the committee will meet sometime tomorrow, maybe at a local Embers, if we can find one, to name the Snownomi in question. That will definitely be a part of it. And as I mentioned, if you've somehow missed it, the U.S. men's Olympic hockey team has advanced to the semis with a dramatic OT victory over Sweden. The Swedes score the tying goal just inside, and it was like 1:01 to go in the third period. And it was nerve-wracking from that point forward because obviously it's one play is going to change everything. And the U.S. did indeed survive with our guy Quinn Hughes getting indeed the game winner as well. You know, we were talking about earlier the Mark Cuban comments on Kessler made it before Blakemore. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Blakemore's never going to hear the end of this, that's for sure. The comments Mark Cuban has made, because, you know, all the rage is to talk about the tanking debate in the NBA. Big topic during All-Star Game weekend, and it's ongoing. Big fines levied by the commissioner, and everybody's trying to get a handle on it. And what seemed to be settled is that everybody agreed it's not a good thing. It may be that the only way to change it is to not blame the teams for partaking when they're almost encouraged on the basis of the system in place to partake in irresponsible, not responsible, but irresponsible tanking. Mark Cuban came out of nowhere to throw a little fly in the ointment and basically to say the NBA should absolutely embrace tanking. Fans don't mind it. If deep down they come to the conclusion that the only way that the team can get better or the only way the team can get a top 5 player coming out of college is to tank, if they're used to enough losing, they're absolutely willing to accept the trade-off. I'm not sure I buy the premise, but I'd like to hear from fans on that. And you don't even have to be a basketball fan, I think, to just opine or comment on the concept that's so contrary to everything that has to do with competition, right? The idea that you just sort of, and here's the kicker, of course. The kicker is, how often does the player that everybody is coveting yield the results that are expected? Yeah, it happened with LeBron. It happened, obviously, with 2 or 3 others that we can name over the years. San Antonio Davey, we're lucky enough to get 2, sort of transformational players. But it's really relatively rare. And then you say, is all of that worth it? And what's the price? Because if you end up with a player that's not that good, what kind of message have you sent to within your own team, to your own organization, and again, to your fans? And we've talked about this forever. If you want to embrace the Cuban philosophy, the Mark Cuban philosophy here, say to yourself, well, how do we accept this when all the owners, including presumably Mark Cuban, are still charging the same prices? So you're saying, hey, look, we know and you know why we're doing what we're doing. And so you'll wink along with us because you understand the long-term reason for doing what we're doing. But in the interim, one thing we're not going to change. We're not going to change the price. Even though we're both winking, knowing we're trying to lose, and we're actually taking players out of games in the fourth quarter to make sure that we lose or to give us our best chance to lose. But, oh, by the way, I know you're in on this with me, but you're not in on it with me enough that I'm going to give you a discount. You're not in on it enough with me to say, I'm going to give you a few breaks because you're conceding something for the good of what we think we have to do for the future of this team. I just think it's way too easy for the Mark Cubans of the world to be. It's always easy to be philosophical that way when you're coming at it from his point of view. And I think there are plenty of fans who say, it puts a bad taste in my mouth. I've said for years, maybe decades, there is such a thing as responsible tanking. I believe there's such a thing as responsible tanking, where you can, if you will, manipulate a bit in a way that still I don't love, but I think is doable, sustainable, and maybe even understandable. But we're way past responsible tanking to the place where it's much more brazen and it's much more irresponsible. Speaking of irresponsible, Blake Moore's here. Guardsy's done with you. First of all, are you okay?
Physically, I'm fine.
Mentally, not so much?
Well,
are you still sick, too? What happened? What's the illness you had?
I have an infection in my small intestine that's basically fighting me.
Is it contagious?
Is fighting me. No, it's not.
Because Kessler's a germaphobe, so you better...
No, it's
not. Well, I'm sorry. That's, first of all, can you take anything for it? Are you taking anything for it?
They didn't want to give me any antibiotics. They just gave they gave me stuff to help with the cramping. And that's it.
Man, that's not fun.
So I'm just suffering through it.
Well, hang in there for that. And then Can
I just give my side of the story?
Yes, you might as well.
Because I got destroyed. I'm having a panic attack.
I tried to stick up for you. Guardsy was not in the mood.
No, I got that from our phone call. Here's my side of it. Okay. I checked the 511 app, which is what I always do in the winter, and it said partially covered. And I checked the pictures. They have helpful plow pictures, and some cars on there, and there's tire tracks.
Sure.
Like, I took my gal's SUV because it has winter tires. I'm like, no, I'm going to get this in 45 minutes most. I even left earlier than that. I left like midway through the second period. It took me an hour and a half to get here from Richfield because there's a parking lot. No matter what road I took, 35, 100, parking lot.
Well, explain this to me. Took you 90 minutes?
Yeah.
Kessler lives in Woodbury, and he got here in like 12.
I don't know.
So, I mean,
I don't know what to tell you.
I'm just saying. I mean, you got to. You went. You didn't. Did you try to go surface roads? Did you try to just get off the highway at any point to say, "Well, this is a disaster"?
I went on some surface roads, but they were just as jammed up as the highway was.
Yeah.
And especially going north, the surface roads aren't as easy. So, yeah. So I'm sitting there just panicked. I'm like, I'm gonna cost guards. He's gonna be mad at me, and then I just get destroyed.
It's their game of the year.
Rightfully so.
It's their game. He's waited. You know how many games he's had to broadcast where the Gophers were terrible?
Yeah.
Here's this. I mean, they're having their best season in a while. They're going to make the postseason for the first time in 7 years. They're playing the 10th ranked team in the country. This is their crowning moment, and this for him is a chance to actually, maybe break out as a big time play-by-play guy. And he may not get there in time. They may have to delay the start of the game just so Guardsy could be in position to do the play-by-play. Think about it. Just saying.
Their stands might be empty, too.
Yeah, well, they are going to be empty. That's the sad thing. There's going to be no walk-up tonight. Kessler should go. Kessler, when he's done...
I'm going to have to leave right now.
Well, that's probably true.
I mean, it's a parking lot.
No, Blakemore's a hero, but here's the hero.
He's a hero?
Here's the hero.
Well, that's true.
Right
Promotions guy. There's
Nick
no question
is the
about
hero.
That. Yeah, 100%.
Are you kidding me?
He stepped right in. I thought maybe we would just have you. You can do that. You can spin the dials. Didn't
I
you
was
do
ready
a
to
one-man
go.
show?
I was ready to go.
Yeah. You know how to fire up the commercials.
Absolutely. Nick just gave me a tutorial on this board also.
It's a beautiful thing.
So,
all right, so we need a
Blakemore,
break.
if you need to go fix up, brush off the car, whatever, I got this.
Let's break. We'll try to get back on schedule. I'm not going to ask you to do the 520 Sports Fix because I don't think you're in any kind of mental condition, quite frankly, to do it. But we will give a little bit of review of a very eventful and entertaining day in Olympic hockey and really on the mountain as well, at least from a United States standpoint for sure. Kessler will join at the bottom of the hour. Is in the house. He'll join us next segment. We'll do a brief segment here. Give a chance to Blakemore, who I think kind of feels like he's on the defensive at this point. So I'll let you sort of try to release yourself from that and talk a little bit about the hockey games today. I thought it was an especially compelling, entertaining day of men's Olympic hockey. Now, I'm assuming you didn't get to watch the U.S. win in OT because you were stuck on 100 at that point, correct?
Well, the beautiful thing of being stuck.
Oh, yeah.
Is that there's really nothing else to do.
Yeah, that's
just
it.
Sit and watch your phone that's on the little mountain.
How much trouble when Sweden ties it with 1:01, I think, to go in the third period, how much trouble did you think your favorite hockey team was in at that point?
I mean, I've had the feeling like they're not going to win with one. You knew they were going to get in at some point. Sweden just has too much talent to keep them out, even with the great goalie as Hellebuck is. So it wasn't really all that shocking to me. I was like, all right, we knew it was coming. Here we go. You get into overtime, and then the U.S. starts to have a lot of the possession. I thought they had a pretty good chance.
They did.
But I think that was an evenly as a battle as you could possibly have. I mean, Sweden is right there with the U.S. and Canada, maybe just a hair below them, but they're such a talented team.
Yeah, and so next round, we won't play Canada because they reseed after every round.
Correct.
We were a 2-seed, Canada 1. So the soonest we can play them would be for the gold medal game, which I think is on Sunday. How shocked were you that Canada had as much difficulty?
Stunned.
As it did earlier today.
I was rooting. So I've never rooted for Czechia harder in my life. I thought they were going to pull it off. They had their chances, a couple in the second, but I was stunned that it lasted as long as it did. Canada hasn't just been full go all tournament long and just scoring boatloads of goals. They've struggled, and then once they hit the gas pedal, then they become really dominant. But that was a whole game of them really kind of getting shut down by the Czechs.
And now they have an injury, do they not?
Well, Crosby
he's getting some imaging done. It did not look good, him leaving the ice.
No.
It looked to be his right knee. And right now they're just describing his lower body, and they're saying he's getting more tests. But it came off as something that might sideline him quite possibly the rest of the way, but we'll see. We have no new information on that yet. Kevin in Eden Prairie writes, please kindly remind drivers on the road that only having their parking lights on, your taillights are not illuminated with this setting engaged. Turn on your bleeping lights, please. And thank you, Dan. Love the entertainment. Skol, USA.
Good reminder.
It is a good reminder. People are weird on lights. I've said forever. I continue to believe that a lot of people have forgotten that about the bright light setting, that once they have it on, they just decide to leave it on, whether they're going to blind the people headed, coming in the other direction. That there's just I don't know if it's, again, just, what's the word for it? Disinterest? Or stupidity, or whatever it is. I keep saying every day, I think the percentage of people, drivers, who at night are just constantly keeping their bright lights on or forgetting they have their bright lights on is greater than at any time in the number of decades that I've been driving. This is the other end of it, which is, you don't have enough light. You have nothing on, or you just have... You think you're putting on these parking lights, and it is not enough. I don't even understand why people seem to want to make that distinction. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Canada won. How did I miss that? I don't know if you missed it. That was earlier in the day, and in fact, that's going to be the first semifinal again on Friday. The U.S. game is going to be during our show. As I said, it means we may not ever get Russo on. Now, my goal is, today's Wednesday, right? So my goal would be to try to get Billy Guerin tomorrow, if at all possible. Then again, he might feel obligated to be at the U.S. women's game and then unavailable. But I'll text him, see if we might be able to get somewhere with him. Looking out the window here in St. Louis Park, it still looks like it's kind of a driving snow. I don't know how many inches of snow we're ending up with. It's just enough, right? With ice, wind, snow, that combination, I guess it's proof once again, you don't need a tsunami necessarily to create utter havoc here in the Twin Cities. If it's timed poorly, like coming into rush hour, plows haven't had a chance to get out. And then once the roads are full, plows have an even more difficult time, I guess, to do anything. Because I've had people compare this to the 91 Halloween blizzard, which I think is a bit of hyperbole. But again, for sheer road conditions in real time, I don't remember a time where I've gotten as many texts as I've had with horror stories about how bad it is, how slow it is. And as you said, I don't think it's just on highways. I think it also is on surface roads too.
I got off 100 and I was like, thank God, here we go. I can finally speed up. Nothing. It's just bumper to bumper the rest of the way. It sucked.
It's very, very unfortunate. Couple more quick texts, then we'll break for Cassie. This is from, let me get a name here. Samanoka guy. Dan, you're right on Cuban. It's meaningless to be philosophical about a topic when you're only philosophizing for your own best interest, which is actually anti-philosophical. Yeah, I think it's true. And I think in real time, you can say, philosophically, fans go, okay, I kind of get it because I want to get it's my team, I root for them, I want to get a better player. But in real time, I think it becomes more aggravating than Cuban thinks. When you're at a game like that and you see the way the game is being manipulated that brazenly. Again, I've always felt tanking responsibly is you maybe play your best players fewer minutes. Then there are ways, I think, you trade away your best players. And then you're left with, well, I got to play who's left. And as you do it, you're making it less likely that you're going to win. That's what I call tanking responsibly. We're way past that. We're not even in the same zip code as far as I'm concerned at this point. And I continue to maintain it's in large measure because I just don't think there's any fear with this commissioner. And I think his punishment is meaningless. $500,000 means nothing to these billionaires. You got to take away lottery odds or draft picks. That's the only chance you have to really get anybody's attention. If you think you get people's attention with $500,000 or $100,000, you're out of your mind. It has no impact on this league for sure, especially if you're a Mark Cuban who says, oh, no, that's the way I got to do it, so go ahead, find me. I just don't think it has any impact at all. All right, Kessler coming up. Lots to get to with him. We'll find out what his journey was, his commute here was like. And then we'll get to some A-section stories with him. There's several out there, a couple that I think are flying under the radar that I want to get to with him, in addition to what is on his list. And then there's some legislative stuff to discuss as well. So Kessie is coming up after a very short pause. Stay tuned.
I wish the American media would take a great look at the views of the people in Congress and find out, are they pro-America or anti-America?
Dan Kessler. Because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
I can't trust Obama. He's an Arab.
Dan Kessler.
Tear down this wall.
I did nothing wrong at the Minneapolis airport.
Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
Dan Kessler.
And now, to help Dan break down all the tough questions in politics, it's our own
Dan Kessler.
Political Wonk.
I feel like a supermodel, except like times 10.
It's Channel 4's
Dan Kessler.
with Dan Barreiro on the Fan.
All right, it is that time again. Questions and observations already coming in for Special K, Pat Kessler. What was your secret? Sounds like you got here in like 15 minutes or 12. Or was
I did, yes. I live pretty much on the outskirts of the metro area.
That's true. Very much so.
You know, I left.
So how did you pull this off? I mean, did you just use surface roads or did you get lucky in your direction? Because it seems like every place else it's a disaster.
Yeah, it is. And Blakemore had a little trouble, I understand.
Is that what you heard?
That's what I heard. It took me an hour and a half to get here.
I told Garzi you are, and I appreciate it, but I did say you didn't have to come today.
Well, what, and I don't come, and then what happens?
Well, I didn't even tell you. We're out at 6 for Gopher women's basketball.
Which I can't wait. That's awesome.
So
that's fantastic.
You only got about another 8 minutes. I'm kidding. No, we're on till 6:30.
That is so great.
We're on to 6:30.
Well, no, I mean, you always make fun of me because I try to get here a little early because I'm a pro.
You are a pro.
And I figure out how much earlier I need to be here, and then I add a half hour on. So me and Scoggins, it sounds like, and you make fun of me for that.
By the way, and I agree with this.
Mm-hmm.
This is to Blakemore, who's left the room again. This is from a texter. Blakemore, they weren't ripping on you that hard. Plus, it made for fun listening too. Also, do you think anyone else at the station would come to work with an intestinal virus? Thanks for being a trooper.
Yeah, no one would work hurt.
Probably
in this
not.
place.
Yeah. Well, we're all tough in our own way.
So he's doing some cutting up some stuff for the show a little later.
I see. Okay.
So he can't hear this, so I'm able to say this. He is devastated. I mean, he's
pretending to be devastated.
Well, no. I mean, this guy is so good.
Well, he's very good.
Which is why
ordinarily
we
very
give him
reliable.
Unbelievable grief.
Yeah. Well, he the excuse of
I had to calm him down, man.
Weird ass weather app or road app I've never heard of being his Bible.
That's what I said to him.
Like, come on,
I said, "What are you doing?
Yeah, you got to
find. Looking at this, and I'm like the granddad.
Yeah, well,
that's but that's why he won't listen. So
that's the famous, Chip Scoggins, who former colleague of mine at the Star Tribune, and he's historically known for if he's got a 6:30 flight back to the Twin Cities after covering a game, 6:30 a.m.
Yes.
He's at the airport by basically 3 a.m. Like, he's waiting for them to open security.
I completely understand
That's how he's wired. He ends up going through the airport at the time where there's people sleeping, in chairs. That's it. But he's got it.
I completely understand that
way.
Because as the old saying goes,
early
if you're
bird gets
on
the
time, you're late.
Oh, is that what
if
the
you're
saying
early,
is?
you're on time. And that's the way it is. That's the way we run our lives.
I did not know that.
That's the deal, man. And people make fun of me for it. And next thing I know, you're going to make fun of me for carrying an elephant gun in the trunk.
Yeah.
But what if there's an elephant?
Yeah.
You know, that's the deal. So,
Did you hear, speaking of that, boy, that's an obscure reference. I've saved the story, but I didn't bring it today.
Mm-hmm.
This was a really good Enterprise piece in the Wall Street Journal about elephants. And there was an effort, again, with the greatest of intentions. There was where they were becoming an endangered species in one part of the continent. And so these one of these green outfits, they go out of their way to, all right, here's what we have this massive project where we're going to move as hard as it is, a bunch of these elephants to other areas to try to even it out, balance it out, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
All the best intentions in the world, and it's been a disaster because where they thought they were going to be able to keep the elephants when they moved them, the elephants say, not so fast, my friend. We're still going to go where we want to go. And there have been farmers that have been forced to kill some of the elephants because the elephants have killed them. It's a sordid story that reminds you that sometimes the best intentions still don't end with any kind of good, desirable results.
And also, we've tried to do this for thousands of years, but we cannot control nature.
No, we can't.
So,
we try to.
So don't try.
Yeah, that's probably the best thing.
We can seed the clouds and do all that kind of thing, and that's why we're controlling the climate right now. But, no, man, we can't do it.
I had two other things I want to get to before we discuss God knows what else.
Yes.
By the way, this is from, you familiar with Seth Kaplan?
Very much so. Very
accomplished,
highly tutored producer.
You're familiar with him?
Fox 9.
100%.
Very good. Very good.
So, is this true? Is it Hovland or Hovland, Minnesota? Hovland.
You know, I've always said Hovland.
Hovland.
Yes.
It's 18 miles northeast of Grand Marais.
Mm-hmm.
34 inches of snow.
Come on!
That's 2 inches short of the all-time record for a Minnesota snowfall in 24 hours. They're at 34 inches of snow. The record for one day, January 7, 1994, or for 24 hours, which was near Finland, which is 10 miles north of Silver Bay, 36 inches in a 24-hour period.
So I know that was forecast. I don't remember that our weather here in the Twin Cities was forecast quite like this.
No.
But they were expecting a couple of feet of snow. It looks like it's exceeded that in the northern part of the state. I was listening to some folks up in Grand Marais who were hunkered down with generators and shutting down businesses.
You're a big Grand Marais guy.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is hard to believe, but I absolutely believe that this is nature going.
Let me ask you before we get to the A section, a sports consumer question. So let's be clear. I mean, whatever games you go to now, you tend to go to the beautiful people seats. And I'm not ripping you for it. I mean,
I buy tickets, Dan.
Well, kind of.
Oh, no, I pay for all my tickets, Dan.
Yeah, but you buy beautiful people tickets.
Well, yeah, and right with
you buy most of them. Not all of them.
Well, just like you.
Most of them.
Just like you.
I don't go anywhere at any games. Anyway, you go to more games than I do now. But here's what I'm asking. And you fancy yourself a sports fan, I think, largely. So you put all that together. Where are you on? I mean, the debate that Mark Cuban's now got himself in the middle and said, hey, you know what? The dirty little secret is fans don't mind when we tank because they know the reason we're doing it. They understand that that's, in some cases, for some markets, the only chance we're going to get to add a really talented, game-changing, franchise-changing player. So they can live with it. They may not love it, but they understand it and they applaud it. So you go to, I think, most games to not just watch, but to watch your team win and to root for your team. So how contrary do you find the whole tanking proposition, even if Mark Cuban says there are reasons that teams do what they do.
I have a great deal of respect, I really do, sincerely, for Mark Cuban. I think he is a great American businessman and sports owner. I hope he gets another franchise. I think he's really good for the sport. However, on this, I think he is wrong. I go to games not just to see our own players. Let's talk about the Timberwolves.
You go to games to be seen.
To be seen, but number one, to be seen, and number two, to see our players. But I choose games to see the players coming in from out of town. Mm-hmm. This year, for example, Steph Curry. I really, really, really wanted to see Steph Curry.
Right.
And so I go to those games, and if they sat him for the game, I would be very upset, especially if you're tanking. I don't think it matters. I think it's hit and miss with the draft anyway, unless you're going to get the number one
100%.
pick.
That's the fatal flaw. It's very much hit and miss.
Look at us.
Yes.
Look at us here in Minnesota with all of the draft picks we've had for the Timberwolves. And, many, perhaps most of them have not panned out. So it doesn't matter. You're going to get somebody late in the first round or in the second round that's going to outplay, outperform, and be a better player than people that are way ahead of it. So I completely disagree.
Meanwhile, you're going to
completely disagree.
You're going to urinate on the whole concept of competition by going down that road. You are giving the back of your hand to everything that is supposed to be what attracts people to sports. That's what I can't stand about it. And especially when it's as brazen as it's now happening, whereas we say, you're Utah. You're ahead going into the fourth quarter. You sit for two players, your two best players who've played and played well through three quarters the rest of the game. There's only one reason you do that, to make sure you lose. Now, as it turns out, they won that game, but that's not the point. That's
what is the fine
message.
For that? What is the fine from the NBA for that?
The fine in this case was $500,000.
Okay, that's not enough.
It's not enough. You got to give away.
What is a good fine? $10 million.
$10 million or
more.
Draft choices.
Lose a draft choice.
Or guess what? You think you're going to have a 14% chance the way you're tanking, a 14% chance to win the lottery? You're down to 0.4%. To me, that's the kind of commissioner you got to have. Somebody who sends a strong enough message to say, this can't stand in our league because it will eventually come to bite us.
Now, it sounds corny, but I take my kids to a game, and if they saw that and wondered and wanted to see it, that's really disheartening and discouraging for them and makes them grow up to be cynical sports fans. So, like us, like you and I are. I'm a rube. You're cynical.
You are a rube. That's true. By the way, what is the date today?
Today is 18/2/18.
By all rights, you should have been here yesterday because on 2/17, 9 years ago, on yesterday's date, 9 years ago.
All right.
What happened?
9 years ago in February.
That you covered. That you, in your job at Channel 4, covered extensively.
Okay, what year is this?
2017. So 9 years ago.
All right.
So Feb 17, 2017. Anything come to mind?
It doesn't. They all melt together. All the stories that I've ever done.
On that date, 9 years ago yesterday.
Okay.
Ted Mondale and Michelle Kelm-Helgen resigned from the U.S. Bank Stadium Oversight Committee.
Why didn't I remember that?
Because of personal use of suites at the stadium. A story we've referenced forever since. Yesterday was the anniversary, 9 years.
That is really something that I didn't remember. That you have been so harsh over the years for two.
I've ripped
very,
Hank.
Very good public servants.
I've tried to stand tall for Hank, who got caught in the middle of it.
Yes, you
What did Hank do wrong other than he married Michelle?
That's true. These are great public servants that dedicated their lives to helping the state of Minnesota. They built the stadium, did they not?
Yeah, but
there were so many sweetheart deals, and how innocent we were. How innocent were we?
And this was one of the sweetheart deals, apparently.
Yeah, so that's the sweet, because you could let your family use it.
Yeah.
How naive are we that we force those people to resign when we look at the corruption in sports and politics today. I'm just asking.
It seems rather innocent, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. Here's the quote from your guy, the governor at the time, Mark Dayton.
Mm-hmm.
He'd been supportive of the two previously, but said their resignations would, quote, enable the authority to move ahead and hopefully allow everyone to regain perspective on the stadium.
Well, this was
the
his
authority
baby.
being the Minnesota Sports Facilities Authority, MSFA.
Yes, and they ushered through the architecture, the building of all of this, of the stadium, this beautiful stadium, the number one stadium in the NFL today.
Calm down.
Am I wrong?
It's top 5.
No, it's top 1. And this was something that there was so much political pressure, and I feel like it was fanned by the media. And sure, it was wrong. But man, oh man, did they pay a price, didn't they?
No, I think they're probably fine.
Do you, Dan?
I don't know. You tell me. You know them better than I do. And do you stay in touch with them?
I'd say that, this is something that stays with you.
Stays with you. Never
so
gets...
when I always think about this, so what's your obit going to read? What's the second line of the obit?
Yeah. That's true.
There it is.
That's the way it works. Sad but true. All right. Let's get to yesterday's open of the Minnesota legislature. By all accounts, a very historic scene and a very emotional scene as well, correct?
Yeah, it was. I watched, almost all of it. It was really emotional, much more so than I expected it to be. It was one of these times where Republicans and Democrats, one of the rare moments in our lives in Minnesota where they were all together. In sadness, they paid tribute to the assassinated House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark. There were lots of tributes. There were lots of tears. Their children watched from the gallery. This is how they opened the session. Governor Walz gave a really heartfelt, impactful speech about them. And then up the stairs, the grand staircase to the Minnesota Senate, up walked John Hoffman. He is the state senator who was shot 9 times. 9 times. His wife was shot 8 times in an assassination attempt. He survived it. He was accompanied by a state patrol guard, walked up to thunderous applause. And by the way, he has said a number of times now, he was shot 9 times. You know the other major public figure who was shot 9 times and survived? 50 Cent.
Oh, yeah.
Was shot 9 times and survived. So he's
one of the great swings and misses in bumper to bumper history. 50 Cent once stood basically right behind where Brett Blakemore is seated in Studio A.
Oh my God!
On a Friday night.
That's fantastic.
On a Friday night, bored. I don't even know how he ended up here. Basically asking to come on.
Oh no!
And I said no, not because I was trying to be difficult, but because I honestly, at that point, I think this was early 50 Cent.
Yes.
Did not know what I would ask him. It just,
he was wearing the bulletproof vest.
Well, I don't know about that. Yeah, that's true. But I
and
just
his music.
So now I look back and say, what a missed opportunity.
Yeah, he's a cultural icon now.
I mean, 50 Cent, I might have gotten him to cut open a vein for God's sake.
Absolutely.
Could have been
he's
eye-opening.
That kind of guy.
I know.
You know, he has this persona of tough guy gangster.
Right.
That's not who he is.
No.
He is, but that's not all he is. So Senator John Hoffman, bringing it back to Minnesota.
Standing ovation, I'm told.
50, yes. Yeah. But 50 Cent was shot 9 times. So he wants to be called 50 Senator. 50 Senator John Hoffman. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he says it's not me.
Not you.
That's not a joke.
Yeah,
because it is a joke, but that's what he's saying.
But that's the key to it, because if you say it as if you're introducing it, you're going to get savaged as you're trivializing something that serious. But he said it is what you're saying.
He gave a speech that people were crying. Yeah. Oh my God, it was just really something. And I wrote it down just so I could say it here, that he gave a speech asking for unity, said the people are not asking us to be harsher. They're asking us to be steady. They're asking us to lead. Are we going to change after everything in Minnesota that has happened to us?
No.
Think about it.
Right.
We have the assassination. The Hortmans are murdered. The senator and his wife are shot. The Annunciation School shootings. Then we get the fraud scandal that blows up. You've got Governor Walz dropping out of the race. ICE invades Minneapolis for Trump's retribution and kills 2 people. Think about what we have been through. Is this something that is going to allow us to...
Since June.
At least, since June.
Yeah.
We have PTSD in this state. Are we going to lower the temperature in the state, in the legislature, and actually do something
for a day or two? I just don't think it's going to last.
But by the way, there are now metal detectors.
So I was going there next. That they are now in.
Yes,
it's not like they're on their way in. They're in.
They just said the heck with it. The governor, they've been studying this for years.
Yes.
But the governor has ordered now at several checkpoints. They've closed down many checkpoints. I knew every nook and cranny of the Capitol, and I think there were 19 different entrances. They've lowered the entrances, shrunk them to only a few. There are metal detectors. You have to empty your bag, just like many, many other capitals. Right. So that is a sign of what happened with the shooters. But you're allowed to carry your guns in the Capitol, and that's something that still people have a problem with. And that's one of the issues that's going to be coming up in this legislative session. So really, really emotional day. And I was proud of the Republicans and Democrats together, at least for that one day. There was some harmony.
Somebody asked a good question. What is the status of that case / prosecution? Where are we in that continuum?
Nowhere.
Do you know?
That's nowhere. No, it's plodding along because the investigation is going. There are so many different charges with this case with the shooter, and I believe there's going to be a hearing in a month or so, just a procedural hearing. But I don't think we're near a trial date for that.
And these do tend to go pretty glacially.
Yeah, it's going to be a year. I think it's going to be a year. The hurt will not be gone, but many people will have moved on. But you're going to have this, and it's going to remind us all again of the horror of that night.
Let's make this the top of the hour pause. I've got a couple more stories on your list. I've got actually 2 on mine that I want to introduce. One that I think is flying really curiously under the radar that isn't local. It's not regional. It's national and international, which I want to run by you, and we'll get to that and other things. Special K on a very, very busy day here on the Bumper to Bumper program, and a rather distressing day on the roads based on all the texts that continue to pour into the inbox. Kessler, I got a couple things I got to run by you, but I want to find the exact wording here. So this is in reaction to a tweet by somebody named Barak Ravid, who is a global affairs correspondent for Axios. He's also been on CNN.
Yes, I have read him and seen him, yes.
Here's what he writes. This was, I think, earlier today. Trump moves closer to a major war with Iran. It could come sooner and be much bigger than most recognized sources tell me. To which a New York Times columnist named David French writes, it's astonishing that we're building up for a significant military clash and Congress isn't involved, no real case is being made to the public, and the average American has no clue. If this gets serious, it will be a shock for lots of people. I think this has been, now again, it hasn't happened yet, but it sure as hell appears, according to the military reporting, a lot of hardware is either there or on its way there. You could say that's a bluff, whatever the case may be. But nationally and internationally, in terms of the usual places that cover this kind of stuff, I think it's been lacking. I think there's not been enough focus on this story. And we're going to, especially if it ends up being enormous, we're going to look back and say, what the hell's, how did we get to this particular spot? I think it's been underreported.
And this is, once again, a threat of war coming from the administration that promised to get out of all wars, but since then has invaded and taken the president of Venezuela, threatening Cuba, wants to take Greenland, all of this. But in this particular case, which this is sneaking up on us without any Republican pushback or control in the Congress, one of the things that has struck me that's very unusual about this is that it is said that this may likely be a U.S.-Israeli war.
I got a couple texts on that, too.
And you think about that, where if that is what it's going to be, after what's happened in Gaza and the possibility of war, the bombings of the nuclear facilities in Iran, I do think this is a powder keg that could, in fact, grow into something so big that you won't be able to contain it. And
that's the danger in the Middle East. Always has been, always will be.
Because it will spill over to not just the other countries in the Middle East, some that are not at war, but in the terrorist cells that are all over there, the hate in the Middle East for Israel. This could be a tremendously difficult situation if the president goes forward with it.
What I still trying to get my hands around, and again, there's been some reporting on this, is, I mean, we are well aware there was what appeared to be a significant protest that took place, several weeks ago in Iran. And it also looks, again, depending on what report you want to believe, the possibility that thousands were murdered, protesters. We don't have those numbers for sure because it's a difficult country to report on. But what I'm back to is, if you're going this big militarily, at least in theory, in terms of what you've sent there, where are you going with this? Is this the classic, we're going to change, we're going to cripple the regime exactly? And how do you even go about, so is that going to be endless bombing? Is it going to be missiles? And when it becomes this big, shouldn't Congress be asking Republicans and Democrats lots of questions about where we headed on this thing?
Well, American law says that only Congress has the authority to declare war. If this is a weeks-long campaign of bombing different installations in Iran and perhaps killing hundreds, maybe thousands of people, that's a war. That's an invasion, and that's a war. One of the issues here for me is that why? What is the purpose? What is the end goal?
Well, that's to me, yeah. What are you going to get to
for this? And the supporters of the president, including Vance, will say, well, that's Trump negotiating.
Right.
Taking the world to the edge of nuclear conflagration is how Trump negotiates. I don't understand exactly what they're doing unless it is to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. Is there something we don't know here? Because the president said not too long ago, a few months ago, that they had completely obliterated the nuclear facility. But apparently that's not true. He also said that there will be terrible consequences for the regime if, in fact, they execute those 800 protesters. And then he backed away from that. We don't know what happened. Maybe those protesters are dead and thousands more on top of it. I think the opaqueness of this administration is alarming for Republicans and Democrats alike in Washington, who aren't doing anything.
Here's what I think. Here's how it, I think, feeds on itself. I think because of how aggressive and unilateral they've been, the more you do it, I think the more you start believing that you can do anything. Right? And we'll do whatever we got a plan.
President, yes.
Exactly, and we'll do whatever we want to do. And I think that's my concern. I have no problem. I frankly, worldwide, don't think there was as much condemnation of what was taking place on the streets of Iran when it comes to the degree to which protesters, and again, we don't have any final numbers on how many were killed, were dealt with. I think the cause is noble, but then the cause can be noble, but it's a long way from that to we're going to give you the tools to overthrow the government, to put who in charge, to put what in charge. How far are we willing to go to play this game in the name of we're standing with the people of Iran on the ground who've gotten tired of the theocracy?
That was a very hopeful time for a few days when the protesters, the young protesters, the professionals, the men and women who, at great risk to themselves, took to the street. I mean, it was a wonderful thing to see. It was almost like the Arab Spring movement.
Yes.
The issue was that President Trump said that I will protect you, and if they do anything to you, there will be severe consequences. But then he said this. I think I'm quoting this accurately from my memory. He said, help is on the way. What does that mean? What does that mean to the protesters?
It's tantalizing, but in real terms. It
might be worse there now than it was before.
Yeah, exactly.
So does that mean that the president is going to go in? They've moved all these battleships and armadas and military aircraft to the region. Where'd they move them from? They had to move them from Venezuela,
That's
maybe?
right, yeah.
So they're all there. And the Wall Street Journal reported, I believe, that they had a story today, I believe, about the president's diplomacy without diplomats. So there's none of this back channel stuff for decades of it. It's his buddy.
It's him on the phone, and it's him
and Jared Kushner.
That's true, and it's him occasionally saying who was it a premier? Who was it? It was a European country where the quote from the president, I'm paraphrasing, was, I didn't like the way I didn't like some of the stuff she was saying.
President,
so I decided to add a higher percentage in the tariff.
I didn't like the way she was talking to me.
We didn't even talk about that when it happened. It's the most absurd nonsense that we're dealing with.
But maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's a good reason. Maybe we should all be united in opposing Iran getting a nuclear weapon because we don't know where it's going. But we don't know that that's the reason.
Right.
And we don't know what's happening. So
lay out the story.
We have a right.
Yeah.
Not just the Republican Congress.
I agree totally.
Do we have a right to know this? And in the meantime, they're saying they might take over Cuba. So I don't know what's happening.
Last item I want to get to is the news that broke yesterday that the Reverend Jesse Jackson had died at the age of 94 years old after dealing with a pretty significant illness, I think since late last year. And you remind me about an occasion when you followed him from Glenwood, Minnesota to Atlanta, Georgia to St. Paul. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I had the opportunity and the honor to interview him a number of times as a civil rights leader. He came to Minnesota. This would be in the mid-'80s, I think. And he went to the farmers, the young people. You can Google it. But there was a time in Minnesota in the mid-'80s where farmers were losing their farm. They were being foreclosed upon. The economy was so bad. And there were protests all around the state. And Jesse Jackson shows up in Glenwood, Minnesota. And I'm there. And I had a chance to meet him and talk to him at length. And over time, I had the opportunity to talk to him a number of other times. He ran for president, and in his Minnesota campaign, chairman was Paul Wellstone, this college professor.
Good callback.
Who never, he was going to run for Senate a number of years later, but at this time he was generally unknown. Mm-hmm. Wellstone introduced me to the dude, and we talked for quite a long time. Very impressive. But then I end up in Atlanta at the National Convention, and I've seen many, many speeches, and I can rank them in my head, what are the greatest ones of all. This one ranks as perhaps the greatest convention speech I ever witnessed in Atlanta, where he did so much he almost won the nomination. It's the first time America really came to grips, political America, with, you know what, maybe, just maybe, we could elect a black man as president of the United States. And people are starting to get this idea. So we're at the convention. He was going to give a speech, and he did. He gave this incredible speech that people were anticipating. It was hot. The convention center was filled up with people, so many people that the fire marshals had to close the door. It was smoky. It was crazy. And he gave a speech that left everyone in tears. They were wrapped listening to him. You could have heard a pin drop, where he talked about the people he represented, including the black women, the people who wiped the bodies of the sick in hospitals but could not go to hospitals themselves, that cleaned the hotel rooms but could not go into the hotel rooms themselves. And then he began what we had just begun to hear, keep hope alive, keep hope alive, keep hope alive. People are crying. They're screaming. They're mobbing the stage. He comes off the stage, makes his way through the crowd of people. And I'm standing at the bottom of the stage with Walter Mondale and the Minnesota delegation. And as he's making his way, he sees Mondale. He walks right over to Mondale, and they embrace. And I hear Mondale say to him, "Jesse, that wasn't half bad." In the true Minnesota way.
Yes, understated way.
But Jesse Jackson taught us what was possible. A man of many flaws.
No question.
And had so many flaws.
Complicated.
But also a man who really taught us how to be better people.
It's a very good recollection. That's why I wanted to get to it, because I know you had vivid memories of it. And that speech, as you say, it's been talked about a lot again last day or two as being an incredibly inclusive speech that did try to reach out to everybody. Conservatives, he used those terms, conservatives, liberals, etc. And you hit on a key point. I mean, he didn't win the nomination either of the times. He was heavily into it. But he did, as sad as it is that it took this long, he introduced people to the notion that a black man there's no reason why this should not be in the mix. Too late, we'll all agree, but it had to start somewhere, and that's exactly what he represented. And somebody texted me a good reminder, and I think this is very, very true. The other thing I think he represents to the old guard is, as you said, flawed, ups, downs, some significant blunders, but he was the last, I think, living connection in a significant way to the movement, to MLK, to the late 60s, because he was in on all. He was a youngster. He was a young pup then.
He was like 24 years old.
He was in on all of that stuff and that movement. And I think that he was the biggest remaining name that links us to that historic time in the nation's history.
That is so true, and I love hearing it put that way. He was the bridge to the future of civil rights with Barack Obama, but also the bridge to the past. And at that Atlanta convention speech that affected me so much, he brought out on stage with him Rosa Parks.
I remember that. Yes.
So connection to the past, to the present, right, and then to the future. Yeah, he was an icon in American politics, and somebody that I believe will be remembered for all he did for the possibilities.
Thank you for your effort. The yeoman-like work actually getting here. You didn't have to. I appreciate your commitment to the bit. You made it. I hope you can make it home now. You might not get home till 10.
Well, me and Blakemore are going to hang out here.
What you should do is go to the Gopher game. Tickets are probably going to be available.
It's an hour and a half away.
Yeah, it's like 4 miles, and it's
I know.
It's 2 hours
and that's
away.
Absolutely true.
No, that is true.
So are there cots and beds and?
I bet you could just bunk up at the barn. Sure. All right, we're very late. Thanks, Kessie. We'll pause, wrap things up in just a minute here in the Fan.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
It's brought to you by American Pressure.
It's I'm not sitting here and saying thank you to the weather gods for creating the madness that has ensued in the metro area, because I wouldn't wish that on anybody who's gotten caught up in the middle of it. That includes Brett Blakemore. But it does sometimes make for the best radio, because you're kind of making it up as it goes along, and we did enjoy that aspect of it, and hopefully maybe distracted a person or two for a few minutes, as unsavory as the road conditions continue to be in the Twin Cities. I do want to thank Kessler for stopping by today. I want to thank Pat Micheletti, who gave us some nice hockey analysis between periods 2 and 3 of the U.S. Olympic men's hockey team's victory in overtime over Sweden to advance to the semifinals. By the way, tomorrow, I'm looking forward to tomorrow's show as well. We will probably name the Snownami, because even if we don't end up with like a bunch of inches of snow, it's been such a nuisance, I think we're obligated to name it. So you can give me options, the committee options, via Dan Barreiro, KFAN. In addition, tomorrow, it's the emotional return of Mike Conley to the Bumper to Bumper program. He's back on the Wolves roster. He will tell his tale to us tomorrow. I think early. I want to say like 3:05. And in studio tomorrow, if he can get out of his own driveway, Patrick Royce is scheduled to join us between the hours of 4 and 5 o'clock. So we look forward to both of those guests, and who knows what else. A lot of good Olympic stuff as well. Don't forget, by the way, Guardsy made it to the barn at 6. So he's there in time, I think, to do his job. I think you're off the hook.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll hear him.
Thank you, Brett Blakemore.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3 o'clock.